Good morning, guys. In the last video we did the roof in the front. In this video we're going to be building barn doors, starting with this side door. It's going to be a 48-inch panel on a rolling track up top. I'll show you my method of building barn doors. It's super simple. It'll make a lot of sense once I start, so let's get right into it. So I've laid out boards that are wider or as wide as I need. By longer than I need here on a bench that I set up. It's easier to do this if you get them off the ground on a flat surface. So to start with, all I'm going to do is just pick a point, get a nice square line on here, all the way across. And in this case, this door is going to be about 4 feet wide. You want a good square starting point. Next, I'm going to cut a board that's this full width wide, which is 46 7/8. And in this case, I'm using 6-inch material to make my essentially frame or trim for the door. So I'm just going to square up my end. And I'll cut this piece to my door width, which was 46 7/8. Always pays to check twice, measure twice, cut once. 46 7/8. I'll need 2 pieces this length because one for the top and one for the bottom. Go ahead and cut that. I think I can get them both out of this board. Just place this on here for now on that line. And I know that I want my door to be 89 inches tall, so what I'm going to do is do the same thing on this other end. I'm going to mark 89 inches, make a nice square line across. Just be sure you don't move your piece before you fasten it. So 89 inches. We'll make another square line here. Doing the same thing, just a nice square line across. Built quite a few doors like this over the years. It works really good doing it this way. Essentially, I'm going to lay the frame out on top, and then I'll cut it after. That way everything is perfect. So we'll cut another one that same size. I'll just double check this is rough cut lumber. And it's perfect, 46 7/8. So I'll cut another one. And then we'll lay this in the same way. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to fasten these. And I'm going to use screws in this case. I'll put them through from the back side. I just need a screw that's less than 2 inches long, so I'll grab some screws and then we'll get this screwed off. And you just want to be very particular to your line, make sure your pieces are pulled tight together, but I'll start by fastening this first one. Get that nice and flush on the end. And I'll just tack it to start with. Just happen to have found a whole bucket of nice screws that are all the right length. I'll just put a couple in. And if you do it from the bottom like I'm doing here, you won't see any fasteners on the surface, which is always nice. Just make sure these are pulled nice and tight together. I'll do the same thing on the other end. Once I get it tacked, I can go back through and screw the rest of them, but for right now I'm just trying to get it tacked together. Just got to make sure you pay attention to that line. Again, make sure you got these pulled as tight together as you can get them. There, that'll hold it for a minute so we can do the next step, which is going to be cutting the pieces to run down the side. Grab my tape measure, get this measurement here from one piece, butting it into that piece to this piece, and I have 77 1/8. Just double check that because I got a different measurement. Make sure we're square. 77 1/8. That measures a little different, so I just got to figure out why, but essentially we're going to cut pieces for each side and screw those in the same way. Now it is off a little bit, but everything seems square, so I think it's actually the lumber is a little bit different measurement, so I'm just going to go with it the way it is, and it doesn't matter that much if it's square as long as it looks right. So if something's off a little bit, rough cut lumber can be different sizes, so I'm not going to worry a whole lot about that. Just going to square up my ends. Cut the pieces. This one's 77 1/8. So now what we'll do is lay this piece in between these pieces, just like this. It's going to fit a little tight because I like it to fit tight. Tap that in. Use your hammer if you need to. Flush up the whole edge, both ends. Nice and flush. This is going to be a 2-inch thick door. And again, same thing. From underneath, we're going to run screws into that. And again, I'm just going to tack it for now because once I'm done, I can flip it over. It'll be easier to screw them from the other side. And if your boards are warped or anything, you can run your skill saw right down the edge after and clean it up. In this case, it is warped a little bit. Now again, same thing for the other side. I'm going to cut another one to run the full length of the other side. There, now we'll get this put in the same way on the other side. Nice tight fit. We'll get that screwed off the same way. And now we'll do our diagonals. Now with the diagonals, the simplest way that I found to mark these out is just to simply take the board, lay it over the top, get it to where you want it. In this case, I want a long miter here so it goes all the way to the edge, and the same thing on the other end. And then all I do, I'm going to cut this one first, and I just lay the square in. I can see both points. I'm going to mark it. Cut this end, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other end. The reason I'm going to cut this first, I want it to drop down in so it's nice and tight. That way I can get that end tighter. So I'll go ahead and cut this, and we'll get the rest of it scribed. Just like that. And now we'll put it back where it was. I want that to sit right in there nice and tight. Kick that over. And now we'll go ahead and mark the other end. And again, same thing, I want this nice and tight. I want it to go all the way into the corner. Looks good just like that. I'll just go ahead, I may have to trim it a little bit after, but I'd rather trim it than have it be short. And we'll go ahead and cut that one. And that should drop right in now, if I cut it right. And it does. Nice and tight. And now we'll do the other diagonal, because this one's going to have an X-shaped pattern with the diagonal. So I'll go ahead and get 2 more pieces and we'll get those laid in. Or actually 1 more piece and we'll cut out the middle. Now this again, I'm going to do it exactly the same way. You want the points to be in the same points as they are on the other piece, so it's a mirror image. So I'm going to line up my corners because I want that long angle. Do the same thing on this side. It actually looks like it's perfect just the way that it is right there, so I'll go ahead and mark this. This one's going to be a little bit harder because I can't drop it down in until I cut out the middle of it, so I'll go ahead and mark this. I'll actually mark all the points on this one, including the middle. This is just you just lay your square in and get it nice and square with the board underneath it by eye. Same thing on this side, because you're cutting that chunk out, so that this will drop right in there. And I'll go ahead and mark this end as well. Now I'll go ahead and cut all of those lines, and that should drop right in. Perfect. And now we'll do the same thing, get the other end. If I did this right, this will drop right into place and line right up with the other piece, just like that. And we'll go ahead and screw those in. It's actually perfect. Just gonna tack it again from underneath. Just like that. All right, I'm gonna, at this point, I'll finish screwing off the ends and then we'll cut the door out. Just gonna get at least 1 screw in each of these boards just so it sucks it right up tight. Be a lot easier to cut that way. That drew it right up nicely. And now the rest is really simple. Effectively, we have a door. I'm going to take my skill saw and I'm going to trim these ends up. I've got this set to full depth and I'm simply going to follow this board. Just like that. Same thing on the other end. Get some of these tools out of my way. Just like that. Now we'll roll this over and finish screwing it. Wasn't that easy? I mean, I hope this helps you guys. It's really not hard to make a barn door and make it look good out of rough cut. Get this cleared off and we'll roll it over and finish screwing it, and it'll be a nice sturdy door that'll last for years and years. Very heavy door. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and finish screwing that. And I do go pretty heavy on the screws, and these are exterior grade construction screws. And I actually do a zigzag pattern, back and forth. Just like that. And you want these things to last, so you don't be afraid to use a lot of screws. And really get this thing nice and tight. This is a really wide board. This board I think is a 16-inch wide board, so you really want to make sure you get enough fasteners in it so it doesn't warp. And you'll never see these because they'll be on the inside of the door. Zigzag those right down. Now to help me figure out where the board is underneath, I just laid a board on top to use as a guide. And then I can just follow that down. Screw that as I go. I'll do the same thing on the other diagonal. These diagonals add a lot of strength to the door, so you want to make sure you get plenty of screws in them. There, and that's one diagonal, and now I'll do the other, same way. That. So I'm just going to make a line across my door. And now the next step for this will be hanging this barn door on the tracks, but I'm going to roll it up so you guys can get a good look at it. It's very heavy. But that's it, a nice sturdy, heavy-duty barn door. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you when we hang the door. Hey guys, and welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of our barn door installation. I'm installing the hardware and the rollers on the door tonight. I'll probably hang it tomorrow, but this will be a short video showing all of that. To begin with, I've marked out my holes and drilled 5/16 holes for the carriage bolts. This bracket sits on top. Bolts come up through from the bottom, you drive them in tight. And then there's a 5/16 nut that goes on top of here, and then the roller itself is set up. It's going to be a double bolt actually on here, but this roller rides in the track and goes through the hole in here. Then you snug these bolts up tight so it hangs from the door, and then it rolls in the track. But let's get right to it and get this thing running, and I'll show you what I find. This is actually the first one of these that I've done, but it looks pretty simple. Let's get right to it. Now, one thing to know, I had to buy some longer carriage bolts. This particular hardware set came with 2-inch bolts, and I have a 2-inch door, so obviously that won't work. It's designed for a 1.5 inch thick door. Luckily the hardware store is fairly close here. There's a small hardware store. The way carriage bolts work, they have a head that you drive into the wood. And that keeps the bolt from turning when you snug these down. These just have a 5/16 nut that spins on here, so I'll just start those on. Another carriage bolt. I've already drilled these holes on this particular one. Spaced it an inch out from the top of the door, which it says is the maximum that you can do. You could obviously mount them closer if you wanted to, but I wanted a little extra wiggle room there. And that looks like that's all there is to that. I'm just going to snug these up for now. Finger tight, just in case I got to change something. I'll tighten these later, but for now I'll just hand tighten them down. Alright, what I very quickly just learned is you got to put the bolt in before you tighten these down, so that's one thing that you'll want to do, put the bolt through. I actually moved the bracket back a little bit too. These rollers, these are marked top and bottom, and the way it's designed, it's got a nut that goes on there. And I'll adjust this after, but it fits into a socket so it can't turn once the door is hanging. You just got to get it positioned just right, and it drops right into the socket there. So that one's done, and now I'll move on to the other side and get that one done. Now again, I'm matching the other side, which I set these in 4 3/4 of an inch. Bolts in here, and I actually use the bracket as a template. Drill your holes. And then you can simply drive your 3 carriage bolts right up through again, same as before. Seat them in. Seat them in real good. Again, drop the bracket on. There should be 3 5/16 nuts in here, and there is. That's perfect. And again, I'm just going to snug these up by hand, tighten them later, just in case. It's the benefit of watching a video like this. I can edit out the stuff, my mistakes, and you guys can see what I learned, or I can tell you what I learned, which is like the way I like to do things, figure it out as I go. There is instructions with this, but they're pretty vague. And again, this is marked for bottom, so slide that in. Tighten that down a little bit, fits right in. So now we have a door ready to hang, and tomorrow morning I'll put the track in and we'll hang the door. All right, so it is the next day now. First order of business is going to be installing the brackets on this track. I've got them all laid out 24 inches on center. Gone and marked them all, so I'm just going to slide them all on from the ends, and then we'll get this track hung. And it helps with these if you spread them open a little bit, because they fit pretty tight. Just use my hammer. Once they're on there, they slide pretty easily. I'm going to start the first one 1/2 inch back from the end, roughly. I'll get to take the bolts out. They're for shipping. They put them in backwards. Get those all out. And there, now we're ready to hang the track, and then we'll hang the door. All right, I'm going to try hanging this by myself, and if I can't do it by myself, I'm going to grab a hand, but I've put a screw in up here to hold the first bracket. I'm just going to hook it on that, and I'll put another screw on the other end once I get it up in place and leveled, and then I will drill and put in the lag bolts. I think this will work pretty good, as long as my screw is long enough. Yeah, it should work fine. When you work by yourself, you learn these little tricks. Done a lot of work here by myself. If you've seen any of the videos, I built this entire barn essentially by myself. I'm just going to hang it right here for now, and then I'll check the level. And adjust it if I need to. It's important that this be almost perfectly level, just because so I gotta go up a little bit on that end, just because of the if it's not level, your door will roll one way or the other, and it'll just be a pain in the butt. So I'll make sure these are nice and level. Raise that up until it's level. Looks pretty good right there. That's perfect. So now I can go ahead and drill and lag all of the lag bolts, get those all turned in, and then we'll hang the door. Now for this part, I just grabbed a 1/4 inch drill bit. These look like they're 5/16 lags. I didn't want it to be too oversized. And I grabbed a ratchet. So I can just turn them in. If I was doing a large amount of them, I would use the impact. But in this case, this should work fine for the 6 bolts I got to put in. And you just want to make sure as you do this that none of these brackets have shifted. I've got lines here that show where they should be. And if they've moved, you just got to tap them back a little bit. All right, now we've got all the brackets installed and we're ready to install the door. Walk this way. We'll just set it down right now, and then we'll walk it over here. Not quite sure how it's going to go on the rollers, but I think once we get it over there, can you get a hold of it? Once we get it over there, I'll have to climb the ladder and try to pick it up a little bit. All right, walk it my way. There's one. Keep going. All right, it's on the track. Now I just got to put the stops in. How's it look? I mean, probably not. I'm missing one anyway, so I'll just put the stop on this end to keep it from rolling off, and then that'll be that. Looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. That batten is crooked, and it really stands out now. I think that looks nice. So I'll just put a handle on it so we can roll it easy. And
does it open all the way?
It should, yeah. I just got to move some stuff. Yep. Works perfectly. So I'll put a handle on this end and then just some sort of a latch. I don't have one yet, no. I'll put a handle and then I'll put a little latch to keep it from blowing out. That should be good. And that's going to do it for this video. Now we have a fully functioning barn door. Just got one little stop I've got to tap into that end. It's just a little bracket that taps into the end and keeps it from rolling off. And there's one for the other end, which I actually don't have, so I'm not going to put that on today. But there it is, super easy. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.